Welcome everyone. This is Tuesday the 16th of September and it's the Sustainable Merthyr Tydfil Scrutiny Committee. This recording will be broadcast on the authority's website and may be used for training purposes by the Democratic Services Department. All attendees will be in view of the camera, hopefully, and by attending you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and self-recordings being used. Hope you are all acquainted with how we work on hybrid, but just to keep you reminded, any councillor, lay member or co-operative who is a member of this committee and who is joining remotely must keep their camera on and be muted. If you wish to speak, press the virtual hand on the screen and begin speaking after the chair invites you in. When you are finished speaking, remute yourself. And attendees in the committee room, if you wish to ask a question or make a comment when invited by the chair, please indicate to the chair by raising your hand, and the chair will invite you to speak one at a time. Could I please ask all officers and guests who are joining remotely to turn off their cameras so that only councillors, lay members or co-operative members are on screen. You're asked to turn on your camera when presenting reports or responding to questions, but please turn them back off after your item is finished. And hopefully Democratic Services have begun the recording. Okay. Bill?
Thank you, Chair. Can I clarify something? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. Can I clarify something first? The meeting on Thursday, I thought you said the meeting was at 2 o'clock and they was going in room, whatever room we got now. So I was down this afternoon and I was told there's no meeting, it had to be on Teams. Can we clarify that? Because I'm doing my net at the present moment, everybody's telling me different and I'm running around in circles. I'm not happy with it.
Are you talking about a pre-meet or are you talking about this meeting?
Well, a pre-meeting last Thursday.
Yeah, that was not 3:30, Bill.
Yeah, we know that, right? And thought you said the meeting was we were having that room at 2 o'clock because you can hold 17 people.
No, I said that this meeting was always planned for 4 o'clock in the room you're in.
Right. So all meetings in future will be at 4 o'clock. The pre-meetings.
All pre-meetings dates might change and the day might change.
Yeah, I know whatever pre-meetings, meetings will be on at 4 o'clock.
Unless all members are told the meetings going forward will be at 4 o'clock.
Great. Cheers. All right, as long as I can clarify that because I'm a bit annoyed now.
Okay, it was clarification if you were pre-meetings or on Teams, not in public here. I think that's the query, I think.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood. No, the pre-meetings have been and will come going forward. Pre-meetings will be on Teams.
Yeah, I have no problem. It's the meetings that we talk about now, at face-to-face. That's going to be at 4 o'clock on Teams or in that room.
It'll be 4 o'clock. Either you can come into this room.
Right. All right. Great.
Or join us by Teams. Okay, Bill?
Yeah. Great.
Right. We'll go back to the agenda. Any apologies for absence?
Councillor Jeremy Davis.
Yeah, Councillor Jeremy Davis. I think everybody else is here, isn't it? Well, no. You had no other apologies. Item 2, the declaration of interest. Members are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and prejudicial interest in respect of matters contained in this agenda in accordance with the provisions of the Local Government and Finance Act 1992 relating to council tax, the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Members' Code of Conduct. and you have to take into account on the agenda note A and B. So that there's any matters of interest to be declared? None. Okay, we go to item 3, and that's the minutes of the previous meeting, to approve for accuracy and enter into the record the minutes of the previous minute. So it's on paper copy, it's pages 5, 6 and 7 of the meeting held on Tuesday the 15th of July 2025. Can someone move, who was present, that those minutes are accurate for Tuesday the 15th?
I move the minutes, Chair.
I second.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in agreement, please show.
Yeah.
Okay, that's carried. Thank you. The next item is action logs. That's item 4. To receive updates on actions from previous meetings 9 and 10. Pages 9 and 10. Put that in front of you. Could I ask, not on here, but it was referred in the minutes, the policy in relation to multi-location meetings, that's going to go to scrutiny in advance of it going to full council. We got no date when that's likely to happen in the next few months.
No, I think what we've said, Chair, is that on completion of the procurement exercise and the new equipment being put into the chamber, we'll amend that policy accordingly and then bring it forward.
Right.
So that will probably be in the new year now, Chair, the final quarter 4 of this year.
Right, so we've got to wait for everything to be up and running and working, and then it'll come to scrutiny.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else on the action log that anybody wants to raise? No?
No, Chair.
Okay. We go on to agenda item 5, and that's the violence and aggression policy. The author is Alan Dinham. Who's taken that?
Councillor Clive-Jones, I'll introduce.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Carry on.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, agenda item 5, violence and aggression policy. This is a pre-decision item prior to the report going to full council, where scrutiny committee members have the opportunity to review the draft policy and feed into the policy's direction and development. There are a lot of interactions between council staff and members of the public, most of which are cordial. However, there are times when, unfortunately, staff have to deal with aggression or hostility, and this draft report aims to help put a policy in place where risk can be managed and staff members can be protected and kept safe. The report has been put together by Alan Dinham and is quite comprehensive, and Alan will be able to answer any questions you may have. I go to the recommendation, which is just the one, 2.1, to provide the scrutiny committee an opportunity to examine the draft violence and aggression policy in Appendix 1 and recommend any amendments to the policy's author. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Salmon. Questions? Unless, is Alan Dinham there?
Yes, he is on the Chair. It's just not on this.
Right. Alan, you don't want to add anything to Councillor Salmon?
Thank you, Chair. No, not at this time, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bill Smith?
Thank you, Chair. I looked through the policy, read most of it. So we got all the stuff for the office and everything else. But what about the frontline services? Because if we got frontline services, the public that goes in to see the recycling place, the bond basically says signs got to be put up to protect the staff. I haven't read nothing like that in it. even the Crawford Park. We've got staff running around there doing work. Will there be signs put up to tell the public? Because some of them boys are on the stick at the present moment in the park. So what are we trying to do?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. The policy doesn't particularly side with any one part of the local authority. It obviously will be for local managers to carry out risk assessments as they do today and have done for years, and to highlight those issues as suitable control measures. I think what the policy does is try and bind all that together and give it a bit more prominence and a bit more of a status than perhaps we've had in the past. But I agree with you about frontline services are perhaps the ones, certainly from the reports I receive, who report the most incidents of abuse, hostility. Thankfully, incidents of actual assaults are very, very rare. But it would come under this policy too. So yeah, it's not something. It's not an omission. It's something that I'm fully aware of. If you'd like me to include a paragraph or two, perhaps highlighting that, I'd be obviously glad to do that.
Yeah, Chair, I support that, but also I'll be looking at, so like the park put signs up. When you don't have many signs to kill it, just signs to show the public we are taking notice of our frontline services and the abuse they're having, because it's not straightforward anymore. I mean, abuse is with drug taking, alcoholic, everything's involved these days, so we want to be very careful how we treat our staff. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I agree with you, Councillor Smith, that staff shouldn't have to put up with a bit, whatever they work in, but particularly frontline. The public need to be made clearly aware that it's totally unacceptable for them to be receiving abuse. Yeah, yes, they can take complaints verbally, but it shouldn't be abusive in any shape or form. So you're going to take that into account, Alan, when you're before this goes to council?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Like I said, I don't think it's an omission, but it's something I can perhaps highlight and perhaps make it stand out a bit. Yes.
Yeah, that will be fine. Claire?
Thank you, Chair. I've got a couple of questions. Obviously, Councillor Smith mentioned some addictions and things that influence people's behaviours, but I think there are lots of sort of other pressures on people, sort of financial, cost of living, people's kind of expectations of public services and things are sort of increasing all the time. I'm just wondering, in terms of the policy, obviously I know it talks a lot about what staff, including managers, need to sort of put in place, but I'm just wondering whether any training or support is given to your colleagues on sort of dealing with people in various different forms of crisis.
Thank you, Claire. Who's going to answer that question?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer it, Chair.
Good.
Yes, we have in fact already undertaken some training events with a company called Safety Solutions. That was mainly for our reception staff and housing staff and some social workers, and that was how to deal with escalations and threats. There was some advice in there about online safety as well, and keeping safe, keeping data to a minimum on things like Facebook, not sharing where your children go to school and that sort of thing. That's all been done already, but that was something that was arranged sort of locally between myself in what was then the Human Resources Department and local team managers. There isn't any commitment in the policy for any ongoing training. That is obviously has budget implications and is beyond anything that I can include in a policy.
Does that answer your question?
Thank you, yes. I'm sure it opens a few more other questions, more for internal sort of purposes. If I could also ask, please, on sort of page 25 under 8.5, it talks about an employee protection register and about how colleagues have to make a request to the ICT team. And then obviously naturally with these sorts of sensitive information, there's sort of a list of people who can or cannot access that. I'm just wondering whether it would perhaps, I'm trying to think of how to word this, but perhaps be better if that was automatically done. So when a colleague is set up with their ICT account and equipment, that's done automatically, so that would reduce any risk then of somebody perhaps not realising either the register exists or that they need to sort of pre-book access.
Jay, would you like me to answer that?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's a really good question. It's limited not through health and safety regulations, as you can perhaps guess, but through our data protection arrangements. Because this is highly sensitive, confidential information. I'm in the process of working with IT to get photographs of, I don't know whether perpetrators is the right word, but certainly people who have carried out assaults or threatened our staff, to have their photographs added to the system as well. So at the moment, I think we could do more perhaps to promote the use of the system, but I don't see a situation where staff will automatically be added to it.
Thank you. Perhaps my fault for not being sort of clearer. Where this talked about that authorised staff list, whether that could be done automatically rather than it having to be sort of a specific request to IT. Sorry, that's where I was coming from, not a full open access to everybody.
Okay.
Sorry, Claire, just to add to the clarifications, I've written down here, I was going to raise the same query as yourself, but the groups of professional staff came to my mind straight away, and that would be social workers, environmental health officers, housing staff. There would be others, but you can mark my words, those are the groups where they should be able to be alerted to that. Do you agree with that, Alan?
Yes, absolutely. And they already are users of the system, as are trading standards officers who face similar risks when they're going about their work. Yes, yeah. I should add that the register is not just for people who might be violent. It could be because they make false accusations. You know, someone's been to my property and there's £50 gone missing. It's that kind of thing as well. But it's primarily, I think there are 10 names on there now, and they're all people who have, shown some hostility, a credible ongoing risk or threat to council workers.
Yeah, so that list is ongoing. There's only 10 there. There's obviously a lot more officers that should be on that list.
No, sorry, Chair, there are 10 names of people who have been reported as being violent to our staff. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Claire, sorry. Got some more questions.
Thank you, Chair. Final one from me. It is a very comprehensive policy, and I can see that lots of different aspects have all been considered. I just wonder, will the policy be supported by perhaps a quick reference guide for your colleagues so that with a lengthy document, it covers absolutely everything. If you are in an instance, they kind of need that quick ready guide of who to contact, what to do. And I'm just wondering, will there be a supporting document for colleagues to supplement the policy?
Okay, that's not something I've normally done for our other policies, but I think it's a good idea, whether it's the form of a quick FAQ or something. There are 3 case studies which I included, which we've taken out. They were appendices, but they give worked examples of typical council work. So there's a reception area, there's a social worker, and there's a situation where somebody, these are all theoretical, you understand, assaulted one of our recycling operators, and the things the managers can do. So yes, I think you're right. I think it's something that we could perhaps summarise in a shorter document. The reporting mechanism, I've been asked this several times, are we going to have a separate system for reporting incidents of assaults and aggression? The answer to that is no. I think the existing accident and incident form, which is available electronically and digitally now, is suitable, because that's what we've been using since I started here 30 years ago. So, and that's another arm to this something that staff can actually use. But yes, a short FAQ, I think.
Okay, thank you for that. Nobody else is... Yes, Gary, sorry, I was looking there.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. It might seem a bit picky to start with this one, Chair, just regarding the policy itself, which is welcome and well written. Just under paragraph 6, Alan has written that all staff have a legal duty to take care of their own health and safety at work. Well, obviously, the Act itself is a matter of a legal requirement. Going back to experience from the past, I seem to remember that employees have a general duty to take care of themselves and other members of staff. So whether the word legal is in the right context there, my view would be possibly that would be general duty to take care, or just leave the word out to become a duty to take care of individuals. And go from past experience, that's what we've generally done in the past. It's a question to Alan.
Alan?
Yes, thank you, Gary. Yeah, that's something I can do very easily. You're right, Section 7 of the Health and Safety Work Act puts duty on us as employees to take care of our own selves and that of others who might be affected by what we do. And I think all the other policies say something similar. So yes, that's an easy amendment, and thank you.
Chair, just a couple of questions, probably process more than anything else after the policy itself is fine, no problem with that. Is what we do thereafter. So the policy refers to a review date once it's been approved, and if it goes to Council in October as planned, when's it likely to be reviewed? After that, it's going to be an annual review, 3-yearly review, 5-yearly review, because obviously there's a lot of information that's going to be put together over the next few months regarding this policy, and how would we pick up on matters after that. So that's the review of the policy. Question I've got, Darlene, is what baseline data do we have to compare future statistics? So baseline we're starting from to see if we're improving, if the situation is improving or getting worse. And from my point of view, what statistics would be used to measure the impact of the policy, and when are these likely to be reported to committee? Whether it's through the information that we get today in regard to performance or a separate report to committee. And if it's reported and approved in October, would it be possible, I would think, to have a report back to committee chair for baseline data at the end of the financial year next March to start us off there? As, for example, as public violence, number of staff experiencing physical violence, harassment, abuse is another one, parent-teacher violence, assault-related sickness, etc. And obviously 3 letters referred to in the report as well, which we sent to various individuals. Are we likely to see statistics based on those letters going out and how they've been addressed? Interesting with that, I'd like to see how these things are developing. But if you recall a meeting we had not so long ago on customer services, the Office of Customer Service said there were incidents of harassment and threats within the department in the enclosed environment downstairs, yet in the hub there was no incidents of such threats of violence. So is fine-tuning the information given to committees or council in future, Chair, I'm interested in, is how it's going to be developed, not just from directorate or from department, but sections within departments as well, so you can see where it's working well, or there are serious threats, and areas where not serious threats, and how we can learn lessons. So how do we use the policy to improve matters for the council? Sorry, Alan.
Alan?
That's all right. Yes, no, thank you. At the moment, I record. There's 3 measures that myself and Kath, my colleague, capture when it comes to recording these incidents. There's what we term as intentional assaults. So that is someone who is minded to go and attack a member of council staff. Then there are what I call unintentional assaults. And I had to differentiate between the two because I'm sure you can understand that if we have someone in a care home with dementia who punches a member of staff because they're confused or scared, or if we have a child in one of our special schools, then I have to differentiate between the motives then, if you like. And then we also record incidences of abuse or threats, which are not physical in nature, but they still can be quite intimidating. So of those, at the moment, as of today, there are 36 incidents in the first category. And that has been since record started when I joined in September 1996. There was nothing prior to that. So we've had 36 instances of intentional assault. Now, these are the ones that have been reported. As you can imagine, there's some underreporting in any area of work. But just very, very quickly, of the 36, 47% were within social services, 26% in schools, 21% in neighbourhood services, and 6% in parking. And those directorates, those service areas are consistently cropping up in some of these figures. So there's 36 of those. Again, I think that'll be something that will be easy for us to keep an eye on as things progress. Because I think if somebody is physically assaulted, they tend to report it. What gets less reported, I suppose, are the instances of abuse and threats. And I suspect what will happen is, as the policy is promoted and circulated and staff through toolbox talks and so on are made aware of it, what I think is going to happen is we'll see an increase in the reporting of these things, which might sound counterintuitive, but I think we'll see perhaps a better reflection of the true figures, certainly within the first 6 months. Whether it comes down from that point on will depend, as we've been talking about, the effectiveness of the policy and how it's being used in real life, with things like risk assessments, interventions, and so on. So I think having performance indicators on these things is just as valid as measure how we manage other risks and other aspects of running a local authority. So yeah, absolutely. I'll continue to capture this data and can feed back to council and members and meetings like this as and when needed.
Yeah, that's a point to make it, but perhaps it should be, whether this was a performance reported or somewhere, it has to be reported as something to a committee somewhere to be questioned and actioned. Because obviously if it does escalate, there's serious concerns regarding staff generally. And if it isn't escalating, marvellous, those things are working. But I would say it's going to be reported somewhere on a regular basis so we can understand how the policy's helping matters. And obviously if it's going to be reviewed, the policy itself, Alan, when you're likely to review the policy, is it year 1, year 2, year 3?
I review every policy. There's 19 health and safety policies. I review them all annually. I review this one 3 months from when it's introduced because I think it's a new policy, and that's typically how I work with it. But happy to take advice on that, obviously. But it'll be 3 months from then, and then I tend to do them all in January or February every year.
Well, I would have thought that you'd want more than 3 months figures personally to look at. Probably at least 6 months figures. I can see some members' heads nodding.
Yeah.
So I think it's a valid point that Gary's making. Alan, could you put in your diary to look at those figures in 6 months and then come back to us so that we can pencil something in?
Yes, Chair, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, so that we can look at the figures again, based on what's been coming in accordance with this report.
The Chair would be to see if letters are being sent, how many letters are being sent, how many have escalated to the police, and what action will be taken thereafter with the police. Yeah. So there's a lot of information to pick up there from a scrutiny point of view.
Yeah, exactly.
From staff welfare.
Got some more questions on that?
No, I'm fine, Chair. Thank you.
You finished there. Right, I've got, I know she's been waiting patiently because we can't see her. Councillor Anna Williams-Price is, the camera's not working. But you got a question, Anna? Sorry. Oh, sorry, wrong Anna. Anna Brown. She's there?
She was there.
Anna?
Sorry, I was going to come in on one of Alan's questions, but he's answered the question now, so that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Right, forget what I said about Councillor Williams-Price. Not Gary. Councillor Richards.
Thank you, Chair. I think Alan has answered the question. There's never been a policy before, Alan, is there?
Thanks, Councillor. No. Violence and aggression obviously is unfortunately part of work-related risks, work-related hazards. It's been picked up, for example, in risk assessments. So when I'm working with whoever it might be, social workers, recycling operatives, then the hazard and then the risk assessment includes it in there. but it hasn't had this umbrella of here's our stance, here's our policy on it. And that might be a subtle difference, but I think it's an important one for staff to see that we have listed in this policy the things that we regard as unacceptable. We don't expect our staff to put up with any of these things. And we've got a policy now which says that in their favour. So I think that's the first thing. And then the secondly is the fact that Council have talked about it. It's come to panels like this where it's been discussed, and it's just raising the profile of it. And that's why I said I think we might see an increase initially in the figures reported. That happened years ago when we did a big push on manual handling, for example. You see an increase initially, but obviously over time we hope that we will see these figures decline and that staff, feel safe to work for us.
Okay, I've got a further question or comment?
Yes, certainly. Yeah.
It's really to echo what Gary said and Alan has said, really, that staff should be encouraged to agree to report all instances, because what I think you find as well these days, behaviour which isn't acceptable is sometimes accepted by society because it's changed, but it's still unacceptable behaviour. Would you agree with that, Alan? Or?
Yeah, I entirely agree with it. I made reference in the report to some anecdotal evidence around these things, and that's exactly that. I've spoken to Suzanne and the housing team, the revenues and benefits team, the social workers. Obviously, social services are now based in the civic centre, and all of them have said, this level of abuse, this hostility, sometimes it's not even crossing the border of that, but just a complete lack of respect for a member of staff has become, unfortunately, the norm in some of these teams. They don't report it, and obviously that's something that we'd like to turn around.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Gareth. Any more questions? I've just got one, and that's in each department on the management side of it. Will there be someone specifically who will be dealing with the issues you've got here in this report on violence and aggression? Because once this goes through council, so is there any, the trade unions will have staff members who can deal with health and safety, but this is a particular aspect of the Health and Safety at Work Act and other Health and Safety at Work Act since. So, as far as you know, will there be anybody in any of the departments who will be specifically dealing with the aspect of violence and aggression? Alan?
Thank you, Chair. No, not as far as I know. The manner that we will manage violence and aggression is the same as we manage working at height and other hazards at work. It's through our management teams, particularly through our frontline supervisors, team leaders, charge hands, that kind of thing. They are the people who are tasked with managing the things that can harm staff. What we say now is explicitly that must include the risk of violence, of abuse, of threats, intimidation. You need to be focusing on those things as well as traffic and manual handling and working at heights whilst you're conducting your risk assessments, while you're designing your safe systems of work. This is something that you must include. I think, for me, this is it's on the increase, but it's still low numbers compared to things like slips and falls and manual handling and so on. I think the difference with violence and aggression is, compared to, say, a chainsaw, is that both are hazards, but one is completely neutral and impassive. The second, you feel like you've been targeted by somebody. And I think that has a profound impact on people's mental health, people's well-being, people's desire to come on to work for us. I think that's, we don't see people retiring because they've necessarily had an accident, but we have had a member of staff in our housing team who's finished because she felt that, she was at risk. So I think it affects people in ways that go beyond what we might normally expect from a health and safety hazard then.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you entirely. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Perhaps I'm out of order there, but the couple of speakers that spoke now and said staff got to be very careful, look after themselves on any complaints report. Are we fixed with staff coming in to work under the weather for booze, beer and drugs? Have we got any policy fit into that? Because they could have accident or think they've been in abuse and then I'm going to go with somebody else. So it's I don't, perhaps I'm wrong, perhaps what can we do with that?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Yeah, we do have a drug and alcohol policy. It's been enforced for a number of years. It's next on my list of things to give a real overhaul to. And in fact, I spent some time in the last couple of days designing a survey for managers, asking them about how they feel the policy is working for them, and if there are any improvements we might be able to make for it. So I don't necessarily. I think obviously our policy relates to staff and that they must not be under the influence of alcohol or drugs whilst they carry out work for us. But I think, again, some of the anecdotal evidence we've seen of customers entering buildings then under the influence of various substances and being problematic. So I think as a society, perhaps we've seen an increase in that type of misuse of alcohol and drugs. We know that around 70-80% of all our workforce come from the town of Merthyr Tydfil. So I dare say that we might be importing some of that. I mean, this is a separate conversation, I know, but the two do overlap.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, I agree, but when are we going to have that policy out then? Because there's a lot of things happening with our staff, especially the weekends, Monday, basically, and in midweek. So when are we due for that policy for us to have a look at it?
The policy is out. It already exists. It's on the internet under the health and safety page.
Okay.
But yeah, what I'm saying is, it's the next on my list to perhaps give a bit more of a thorough overhaul than the regular annual review. It's been some years since that was initially introduced. And I know, Councillor, you and I have spoken in the past about things like testing, haven't we? Which is another thorny subject, I know. I think that's something I'd like to canvass our management on, as to whether they feel that would be something they would want to bring in. I'm talking here about what they class as with cause testing. So someone's had an accident or someone is clearly impaired by something. At the moment, our managers wouldn't necessarily have the tools to deal with that, apart from making a management decision to send that person home. But as to whether we want to move to a situation where we could actually test for that or not. I know it's off topic a little bit, but obviously it's an important question.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Nobody else has indicated they want to ask a question. We're now on to comments. Any comments from any members? No one's indicated. I just want to say, Alan, that this is a comprehensive document. I think we've had an interesting discussion today. There's been various suggestions to add to it. So that's been of value. And frankly, I know this is going to go to Council. As soon as this particular report gets through Council, the better as far as I'm concerned. It needs to be there so that everybody is fully aware of what they can and cannot do in relation to this. So if there are no other comments, could somebody move
the report, Chair. I'll move the report, Chair.
As amended? Is there a seconder? Anyone?
Yes, Chair.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Richards. I'll put it to the vote. And can you please, those on camera, vote virtually by putting your hand up, and we'll put our hand up here.
A virtual hand or normal hand?
Yeah, virtual hand. Virtual hand. Absolutely, there we are. Right. Thank you. That's been agreed. We now on to the next item, and thank you very much, Alan. Item 6 is the Q1 performance, risk and finance report for first quarter 2025-26. Councillor Preston, your virtual hand is still up. Great. Right, who's Councillor Salmon, you taking this report as well?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll introduce the report. Learning from how we have done things previously and by getting feedback from a variety of sources, this quarterly report combines performance, risk and finance, which is the first time in several years that this approach has been taken. The feedback that has shaped this new approach has come from neighbouring councils, officers, cabinet members, Audit Wales, and I would have thought it's also as a result of interactions and previous recommendations from this committee. Going forward, the Scrutiny Committee is probably best placed to have strengthened the local authorities' governance with any recommendations it makes. These performance, risk and finance reports aim to do the following: provide more regular and contextual data to decision makers, support better planning and scrutiny, strengthen governance and align with the Council's transformation programme, particularly the governance workstream, improve transparency by including additional relevant data to enable deeper analysis and challenge, redeveloping the corporate dashboard to automate and streamline reporting, allowing officers to focusing on adding value. A performance risk and finance review session will take place later this month, and the results will feed into the Q2 report. And just before I go to the recommendation, Clive, I believe the Chair yourself has already raised this and will probably raise it at some stage today, and that it's not ideal that these reports are going to Cabinet before it comes to the Scrutiny Committee. But unfortunately, this has been dictated by the way the meeting calendar currently falls. I believe Andrew Mockford will be liaising with Democratic Services and any other departments or persons to rectify this in the next financial year, and conversations have already been had today to try and mitigate what's happened. So I'll go to the recommendation, of which there's one. It's a 2.1. Members to review and provide critical friend challenge to current performance and the associated data of Q1. This is potential to identify areas for further scrutiny. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Salmon, for that particular point. And Andrew was nodding his head, so hopefully we can readjust that during this year, the next local authority year. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Do you want to add anything?
No, I think Councillor Salmon.
Right, okay. Questions from members? Yes, Gary.
It's a bit difficult to ask questions, Chair. If I may start off, I'm a bit surprised that there are no directors here with this report presented today. They said it's a comprehensive report. Sorry, all the directors, as a subject of the report. Because if we can have the opportunity to ask questions to take it forward for the future, the appropriate officers aren't here to answer those questions, or perhaps could or cannot. So when you look at the process in future, if it's going to come to scrutiny to be cross-examined, challenged in a friendly way, who are we going to challenge? They're not here. So I've got questions here regarding page 86, Chair, on the waste management. It's a financial bit to it, but whether Craig Flynn, who's here on the financial side to answer these questions, I don't really know. But perhaps I'll just put them to you and be circulated, Chair, and you'll get some answers after the meeting.
Well, we'll start with that one first, because I think that's very relevant. There's a huge risk to this authority. If we don't comply with that by the 31st of March next year, it's going to cost us in the region, I think, of 220,000 quid as a fine. So,
start with that, Chair.
Ask away. Yeah.
On page 86, the data tells us our performance is still 3.79% lower than the Welsh Government target of 70% by 24-25. And as ever, it's been many years now, this could mean a fixed penalty of around £220,000. It says in the report, improvements are needed if we are to achieve the target this financial year. Yet the report doesn't say what exactly we're doing to bring about these improvements by the end of the financial year, and how do we compare with the rest of Wales on the league table to see how far we may have to catch up, or are we ahead of the game? There's also reference made to a number of projects that were developed previously with specific reference to a targeted doorstep engagement campaign aimed at non-participating households. What information do we have to demonstrate the success or otherwise of that particular campaign? There's also a high level of non-participation and a large number of participating households that do not recycle as much as they can. What are we doing about it? Engagement and education is all very well, but are we gone as far as prosecutions, which we have the right to do? Are we still just sending letters to say, behave and contribute to what we're trying to do? As the threatening letters, is it PNCs or PCNs being served on people? And ultimately, how many people have been prosecuted? Because at the end of the day, the people who are recycling as hard as they can are going to feel the pain of paying a fine, and these other people are not going to feel the pain of that. So I'm slightly aggrieved with that. And if you walk my street, you'll see people who are participating as much as they can, and other households perhaps are not. So from my point of view, what exactly is the action plan to achieve that target by the end of this financial year?
Who's going to answer that? Is that Craig or somebody else?
I think
Craig's there. Craig?
Thank you, Chair. I think that's going to be a question that will have to be directed to the Director of Neighbourhood Services. It's outside of just the finance remit, and it obviously regarding performance, so that would be directed to the Director.
Yeah, and it's a very relevant one because this year is fleeting by very quickly. We'll have an opportunity of pursuing this particular point in the Thriving Committee in the near future, and that will be done. But just for you to pass this on, and what has changed, 52% of the public, up until fairly recently, were still putting their food waste in the wheelie bins. Yeah. So it's a huge task ahead. Did you want to say anything? No. No. Right.
We need to prosecute it.
Well, we need to find that out as well, Craig, as to what prosecutions have taken place and what the end result of those were.
Can I suggest, Chair?
Andrew, yeah, Andrew.
Can I suggest, Chair, that we gather these questions because I believe in the Thriving Scrutiny.
Yes.
This strategy is being looked at in the next meeting.
Yes.
So maybe relevant to these questions also feed into that report.
Yes. I mean, I'm chairing this meeting because it's in the report. Yeah. It's a relevant point. Craig can't answer the questions, but they knew this report was coming here, so the appropriate departmental, whether it's a director or somebody who could answer the questions, perhaps should have been here. But we will be pursuing this particular point there. You got some more questions?
No, just a comment after perhaps right. Rather than that's the question. Because if there's other questions, there's no directors who could answer those questions.
Well, we can still ask
another director apart from Sarah.
Yeah. Right. Who's next? I think it was Councillor Preston and then Councillor Richards afterwards. Councillor Jill Preston.
Jill on mute.
Jill, you're on mute.
My name has gone off and my photo, so I don't know. My hand was stuck. My hand was stuck up, and it shouldn't have been.
All right. And you
can't go down.
Okay, so you haven't got a question. That's
no.
Okay, no. Councillor Richards.
It's a sort of follow on from Gary. Really, I don't think there's anyone there to answer it today, mind. But I think we have Gary voted to change the warning system on those who are not recycling. I don't know if any of my colleagues can recall that. That rather than the process will be reduced. But again, that will be a question that, if there'd been someone here, they could have answered it. But obviously this is the first report, and it's welcome to see this report, and what it's achieving. I will have some questions on social services in a second, but for the wider remit of this committee covering across the authority, it would have been good to have had those there who were able to answer. But I appreciate it's the first time, so it's a sort of trial and error in many respects, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if they can be taken forward, the questions that are being raised, and then written responses given, Neil?
Yeah, he's making notes here.
Yeah.
As well. So you haven't got any? Have we got any more questions?
Obviously, I chair the healthier scrutiny. We've got a meeting tomorrow, I believe, Andrew. Haven't we?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming the issues relating to that, there's a potential overspend, projected overspend at the moment, isn't there? Will be raised at that meeting, or is it that meeting then we determine whether it should go to the scrutiny committee itself?
Yeah, so I think it's the latter, Councillor. So tomorrow we'll be looking at the corporate risk register.
Right,
and
yeah.
how that goes into the healthier scrutiny committee.
Yeah.
But if there are things then that cut across either this report, which is linked to the corporate risk register, that you want to include in the forward work plan, we can have those discussions.
Yes.
On the back of that meeting, yes.
Yeah. Because certainly there are questions in that area specifically that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is that it, Gareth?
It is at the moment, Chair, yes. I can't think of anything, but...
Okay, we'll come back to you, Vinny. Now then, Councillor Bill Smith, and then Councillor Anna Williams afterwards.
Thank you, Chair. Castle back last year, we talked about people putting food in the wheelie bins.
Yeah.
And now that debate comes out that the council was going to give red stickers to put on a wheelie bin, but no food. That was last year. So we haven't seen nothing like it. So I'm not sure there's any money about, did they have money to do it? We wasn't told. That's all we was told, that they were going to do that. And I think we should find out if there's any funding it to take it forward, because it's always like they say, we're a big meet there. We did a discussion this and the park meeting up a couple of weeks ago. Why they are putting men out checking bins. And when we told them, they won't believe it, because there's food going in, and the black bags are going under the white bags on top. The white bags are on top, so they wouldn't know what's in them. So I think we want to double check out there. But I got to agree with Gary. Somebody got to be here to answer all these. If it's managers, directors, anything, and somebody got to be here. Make sure we know what the full facts are, not half the facts. Because we're just walking about the circles. It's no good. You got to be able to tell us what's happening and what's not happening. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Neil's made a note about the red stickers, which will, that will be pursued. And I understand the point which has been made a few times now about the relevant and appropriate officer being here to answer the question. Okay, thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Williams?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to address a few of the points that have been raised, so to make the committee aware, the Council is currently consulting on an updated waste strategy, which I think is potentially the strategy that you've alluded to, Clive, that's coming to the Thriving Committee.
Yeah.
So that's currently up for consultation now. And with regards to fines for incorrectly presented waste, I think the report that Councillor Richards is referring to, there was a report that came to full council and was agreed in June, which looked initially to review our fly tipping policy, but the waste offences policy and procedure that came as part of that report does address any incorrectly presented waste across the borough and the legislation available to the council to deal with that.
Right, okay.
Just a follow-up to that. Yeah. It's all very well having a policy in place and a strategy and a way of action to do it. Are we taking those actions?
Yes, we are, Chair.
So, see evidence of that?
Yeah, well, I got Sarah by the side of me who's nodding her head that actions are being taken. And we all want proof. If a policy has been passed and it's been dealt with, we need to see the evidence that things are being tracked and that's being implemented as per the policy. Claire.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not going to kind of labour on. I agree with other comments regarding people being present to answer queries. So if it's okay, Chair, I'll add sort of specific queries afterwards. But if it's okay for now, I'd like to ask some questions just for me to perhaps better understand the information that's been presented in the report. So with regards to the corporate risk sort of register items, I'm just sort of wondering really, in terms of the target risk scores, are they the local authorities' risk appetite, or are those the predicted target scores after the actions have been undertaken?
So,
Andrew? Yeah.
Thank you very much for the question. It's the former. So that's the target risk based on our appetite and based on a realistic analysis of where we are and where we need to be. That's the score then is put down as the target risk. As we progress and put more controls in place or deliver our actions, that target risk might change, but it's at this point in time where we think it's a realistic place that based on our risk appetite where we would like to be with that particular corporate risk.
Thank you. With regards to, sorry, I'm trying to split a laptop screen into two screens, so it's really difficult, sorry, to sort of bounce back and forth, so my apologies. But earlier, before the set out risk register, there's another small table explaining some reasons for changes to scores. And it was just an observation really and a question about when those discussions are taking place, whether the risk description on your corporate risk register is also being changed to match that. In particular for me, it was CRR7. It spoke about kind of financial penalties affecting the risk score, which of course has been increased for that, but the risk description itself on the register doesn't include any financial penalties. It's talking more about the service and impact on vulnerable people. So I'm just wondering whether there's a process that when those discussions take place, that's updated so that the councillors and officers are aware of exactly what the current risk is.
In a nutshell, Claire, yes. So that does happen. There's a process in place where the risk register is often reviewed by the risk owner. That progresses then to the corporate management team for further challenge, where we do discuss the nature of the risk description along with the scoring, as you described. I think there was an example where we changed the description, or the description meant that the target risk changed the last quarter, which isn't in this report, where we were looking at business continuity. So based on the risk description at that point in time, that risk fell off the risk register. This time around, it was around, I believe it was one of the schools, where we were looking at capital spend, and we decided that risk would be opened up to consider wider capital spend as opposed to a specific project type risk. So yes, to answer your question, we do consider the risk description along with the other information. We also make sure that there's evidence in place to show the actions are completed before the risk scores are decreased, and especially if they're going to be de-escalated from the corporate risk register.
Thank you.
You got any more questions, Claire? Is that it? Okay, right. Councillor Salmon, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. It wasn't a question, it was just an update on what someone had asked. And just to let you know that we actually discussed the recently approved fly tipping policy, and in particular how we're dealing with the various pieces of legislation within that policy. And we asked her what would be a fair timeline on for the results to come back. So we're looking at January, which is only a few months away.
Yeah, okay, yes, thanks for that. Very interested. Any more questions before I come in? Right, you'll have to bear with me because I got a few questions, and this might be going back and forth to the officers, so perhaps they should have been here. But I'm sure you can answer some of them, Craig. So on page 49, under finance, there are a few large figures there. And there's one there which jumps out at me, and that is the 594,000 overspend is projected within corporate services. Can you tell me why that's such a huge number in the first quarter of the year?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the variance, the major variances against the corporate authority line is being reported on page 104 of the pack. So that is predominantly to do with the council tax reduction scheme, where we have got, it's quite a volatile budget head and it's demand driven, and we're seeing higher demand than was experienced at budget setting stage. A couple of other areas there, there's some external legal fees that we're encountering, which are projected for the full year. So they're not spent to the end of quarter three, they're projected for the whole of the financial year.
Yeah, so the council reduction scheme, I understand you can't foresee how many applications you're going to get, but you had a much higher uptake on applying for council tax reduction. Is that right? Obviously, you haven't got the numbers in front of you, but...
Yeah, within the explanation, it details that it is 109 claimants higher than what was at budget setting stage.
Right. Okay, and you could get further applications during the course of the financial year?
Yeah, that, depending on the change of circumstances of those individual claimants or the new claimants, then that could go up or down.
Okay. There's my other questions here. Right. I'll have to come back to you, Craig, because I'll ask these questions in order. There's obviously somebody here who could, you know, when names are just shortened, and I've seen this before, page 56, and the CRR7, that's one of the risks. WCCIS.
That's the social services system.
The system that they operate.
Used to capture the group.
Right, okay. Now then, same page, under the heading councils, impacts of new housing legislation. It says that the council does not have the capacity to deliver statutory and wider duties of the housing service, then the council faces external intervention. Can somebody tell me which housing act they're talking about, and definitely when that's going to be implemented?
Yeah, I'll come back to you on that, Chair. Let me just find the details of that.
I mean, I know there's new housing legislation, but I think we need to spell out whether it's a bill at the moment. Is that going through the Senate?
It is a bill at the moment.
And is that likely to go through the Welsh Parliament?
Yeah, it's the
before next March.
It's the Homelessness and Social Housing Allocation Wales Bill, Chair, at the moment, and it is due to go through Parliament or the Senedd then by the end of this term, as I understand it. And different aspects of the bill will come in at different phases, so there will be phased implementation.
Right. Yeah. I just for it. Anna, you want to come in on that?
Chair, only to provide the same detail as Sarah. Sorry, I'm having quite a few technical issues and I'm not sure when my hand is showing. So if in future you'd be happy for me just verbally indicate, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah. Did you want to come on that particular point then? No.
As I said, only to provide that detail of the name of the bill and the timing. So.
All right. Okay. Right. The next page over, during the paragraph there, we're talking about the one red action regarding the implementation of a new corporate board. What is this corporate board? What is their remit? Who are the members of it? How often are they going to meet? And what they're expected to do?
Okay, so firstly, that's why it's red, because all of those things are to be decided. When we had an audit recommendation, we done a piece of work around our wider governance which linked to that. First and foremost, because it's red because we haven't done it, it's not on a time critical scale. Right. So what we're looking at is, as part of our transformation programme, there's a work stream in there that looks at our governance. So rather than jump ahead and put something in place for the sake of ticking a box, what we've done is we've held back on that and we're looking at it as part of our wider governance. We've looked at various other local authorities and how they use an officer-led corporate board to have challenge peer work to address basically what happens within the corporate centre. So that's what that corporate board would do. It potentially could flush out some of the questions that we looked at today. It would provide us with an opportunity to bring both corporate risk and finance along with performance, potentially transformation and other things like that, so that we could have officer-led challenge and perhaps also look at policies and strategies before they progress all along the way. So it hasn't been put in place yet, Chair, but we're in the process of looking at that as part of a wider governance structure.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm now jumping to page 84. Right. Councillor Richards?
You've given me the next. I was going to ask you what page you were on previously, but Andrew jumped in before I was. I had a chance. Right. So what do you want now, Chair?
I'm on page 84. I think it's 84. Yeah.
Right. Bear with me a minute now. Right. Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
Right. There's a block there. Again, this is relating to key performance indicators. And on that block, if you go down to SPMT 005, it refers to the percentage of empty private sector properties brought back into use during the year through direct action with the local authority. And it's got here, achieved 24-25, 7.37%, I presume that is, yes. Percentage figures. But the target is less than that, for 25-26. Now, I don't know what the latest figure is, but somewhere in the region of up to 600 empty properties throughout the county borough. Some of these, and as other members know, they've got them in the awards, have been empty for years. Some have been empty decades. So my question is, and I don't know whether there's anybody here to answer it, is why the target has been reduced.
The target hasn't been reduced, Chair. The target is will be taken from the strategy, but I'm not sure whether that is maybe a.
Right.
misprint, but we'll double check that. But the target certainly hasn't been reduced. The target is set out in the empty property strategy that we brought to Thriving Committee for an update at the end of last year, and it's due for an update against that strategy at the end of this financial year. We're making good progress, and we'll be bringing a report forward on the 6 properties that were high risk categories, that were over 10 years empty, in line with what we had said that we were going to progress. That will come back to Cabinet and Council shortly, but we certainly haven't reduced the target, Chair, and you'll recall that we were on target the last time that we looked at the figures to certainly meet the target that was in the strategy, and we still are on target to do that.
Right.
I will double check those figures in the actual report, Chair.
Okay. I got other questions, but Gareth, did you have a question somewhere along the line about social services, or have you asked it?
Well, I mentioned it, Clive. It's really speaking in relation to the projected overspend.
Yeah, in social services.
Yes. Yeah. Although I feel that the explanation given, without having the director possibly here, I can't delve into it more than is there in front of us.
Right. But you're going to pursue that anyway in your...
Yeah, it's around, obviously what it is. There seems to be more children using residential.
Yeah.
And it's just, I was going to try and delve into why that's occurred.
Okay. But there's obviously nobody here who can answer that question. No. You'll pursue that anyway. Okay.
But if members, obviously, if Neil wants to take it forward for all members to have their responses.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think you were interested in it, Clive, wasn't it? Now pre-meeting.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Neil, you've got a note about that, and is going to pursue it as well.
Yeah.
Okay. I now on to page 92. There's some really, and this is for Craig. There's a lot of figures, facts and figures there. What am I by? Oh yes. It says in education, and obviously it will be out of education. This is primarily driven by a projected overspend of £47,000 for staffing costs in T-Disky. It's not a. There's a limited number of pupils there, so I just wondering what that was for, because it seemed to me a large sum. So Neil, if you could make a note about that and request information for that to be supplied not only to me but to the whole committee. And under the heading economy, second line down on page 92, it says housing services is forecast to deliver an underspend of 564,000. I don't know whether Craig is there or he's gone. Oh, he's on the bottom. Sorry, your picture moves around the screen, Craig. So the figure is an underspend in housing of 564,000. So we've identified that in the first 3 months of the financial year. Could I ask how we came to having such a high figure when the budget was only agreed in March.
The budget was set based on the information available at the budget setting time. Since that, there has been a less demand in temporary accommodation, which has reduced the spend against that specific budget line.
Right.
And therefore, that will be reflected as we go forward, but we need to be mindful of the change in the legislation, which we are expecting to bring additional pressures. In addition to that, there has been a delay in bringing the Tregenna hotel reconfiguration online, and therefore there's a revenue budget saving this year, because that, as I say, that provision hasn't yet come online, but that will come online in 26-27 financial year.
Yeah, for the Tregenna, that'll be after April next year. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there's been less demand, which wasn't anticipated by housing department managers and staff. There's been less demand on as far as homelessness is concerned.
That's correct. Yes. That's correct. Yes.
Right. Okay. And then over the page at the top, there's around page 93, right at the top there. It says Aberfan Community Centre is projected overspend by 121,000 due to additional building-related costs. Now, myself and other members were aware that there's work being done there, but do you happen to know, Craig, why it's additional 121,000?
Obviously, with the leisure provision coming back in-house now, we're confirming budgets with regards to the delivery of the leisure across the various sites. There was no budget allocation for maintenance within that transfer. And now we've done those works, so we're establishing the costs that are required, and that is the projected cost for the Aberfan Community Centre.
Right. Okay. Right. And in the same paragraph, it goes on to say about St. Tydfil Shopping Centre is expected to exceed its budget by £75,000, driven by increased electricity costs. As far as you know, Craig, have we had our engineering staff who deal with the electrical side of things, etc., have they been in there in the shopping centre to see if they can somehow try and reduce their costs on the electricity costs?
Yeah. Sorry, Chair. Yeah, with all corporate assets, our relevant teams will support those areas. With the St. David's Shopping Centre, obviously, with if there's voids within the area, then those costs become borne on the local authority, and that will result in some of the overspend that is being reported at quarter one.
Okay. And on the same page, under the heading Neighbourhood Services, second paragraph down, it says grounds maintenance is forecast to overspend by 78,000, primarily due to unachieved budgeted security savings alongside other anticipated legal costs. Are you able to explain a little bit more about that?
The undelivered savings, if they are undeliverable over the course of the medium-term financial plan, we will address that and write those savings out of the budget. But that will just go towards the gap then that will have to be found for 26-27. I haven't got any information on the legal costs at this stage. Sorry, Chair.
Okay. And right under there, the Household Waste Recycling Centre has a budget pressure of 72,000, driven by increased costs for vehicle hire, utilities and gate fees, as well as a reduction in recycling income. So the two waste recycling centres is costing us a lot more money identify this quarter than we anticipated. Is that correct?
Yes, Chair, it is overspending by the 78,000 over the budget.
And that figure we've identified now, 72, is obviously spread over the rest of the year, so the figure could be higher.
It's projected to the end of year.
Yeah. Okay, I haven't got any more questions. Has anybody else got any more questions they want to ask? Yes, Claire.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just looking on page 95 of my pack where it's got table 1 cost reductions, and obviously the neighbourhood services is showing a percentage achieved of 13.6. Given the discussion just held, how realistic, given all the sort of deficits, is it that you are going to achieve the savings target?
Can I answer that, Chair? That table reports the savings delivered against the savings that were approved by Council in March. So they're outside of the so they are against the specific saving lines that were proposals that were put forward, and that is the assurance that we've received from the relevant directorates.
So they've still got to save 793,000 again the rest of the year. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah, there's 793 of the savings target that they have to achieve. They've identified those and they've given the assurance that they will be delivered before the end of the financial year.
Okay. Clay, have we got any other questions?
That's all. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Did I see anybody else's hand up? No?
Mine was up, Chair, but it was more or less the question Claire asked.
Right. I thought I saw your hand up. Okay. Nobody's indicated they've got any further questions. Comments? Does anybody wish to make a comment? No?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, Councillor Richards.
Basically, really, this is the first report I think we've had, isn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously, we need to get used to it. Some of the print was quite small in some of it. You could hardly see it. But I think going forward, when we get used to receiving these on a quarterly basis, we may well be better prepared, and we'll be more delving into the issues that are arising.
Yeah.
So it is welcome. It's something that really, I've spoken with colleagues from other authorities that they've always had on a regular basis.
Right.
So it is good to see that this is now forthcoming.
Yeah.
And as a way going forward.
Yeah, and you're right. And I think it's been clearly identified by various members of the Scrutiny Committee that if we can have a report, covering a quarter, which is as comprehensive as this, we need to have the relevant officers. It doesn't necessarily have to be the director, but the relevant officers are there anticipating the questions that we've had today and been unable to be answered. Sarah?
Yeah, I just wanted to come in on the back of what Councillor Richard said, and thank you for those comments, because Andrew has led the work on developing this report, and as you said, it's extensive. It's not, we can certainly improve it, and we'll look to do that, but he's worked across, I know James is online from finance, so finance has also done a huge amount of work to pull it into something, and because Andrew covers performance and risk, into something that's meaningful for you as councillors, but we can certainly look to improve on that, because we want a shared understanding, don't we, of how we are performing as an organisation. So this is the start of that sort of journey, I think. I will certainly take the request around all directors come into the meetings, or if not, for them to send an appropriate representative whenever we've got these once a quarter, so that they can then answer any particular items that come up within their area. But we will take away the questions that have come today. We'll get answers for them and we'll feed them back. And just to say, Chair, we are working on a way of trying to get these to you in advance of them going to Cabinet, so that if you do want to make recommendations for Cabinet to consider, that is done in a timely way. So we will come back to you on that, Chair, with some options.
Right. Thank you for those comments, Sarah. Any other comments? No? If not, take you to the purpose of the report, which is under paragraph number 2 on page 39. Members to review and provide a critical friend challenge to current performance and the associated data of Q1, and this has the potential to identify areas for further scrutiny. Are you all happy to accept the report? Can I have a mover, please? Anyone?
Yes, Chair, I'll move.
Sorry, second it.
Right, we moved and seconded, and again, voting for those who on hybrid, who try and put your virtual hands up, and in here we'll put our real hands up. Okay, that's been carried. Thank you very much for that and for the officers' input into it. Right, next item is item 7 of the work programme, and it's the forward work programme for 25-26. To consider the attached report, it's pages 107 to 118. I don't know whether you want to add anything, Neil, to it. Go on.
Only comments to add really is maybe outside of the scrutiny we pick up some of the future items, because as Councillor Sam touched on and Andrew, I think we need to move future performance reports or maybe handle them in a different way. And I think Andrew may want to touch on this a little bit further and maybe able to bring the self-assessment report in November. But we'll discuss this outside of the scrutiny.
Sorry, which report? The one that Martin mentioned.
Corporate self-assessment.
Yeah. Oh, the self-assessment. Yeah. So when are we thinking of bringing that?
In an ideal world, Chair, in November, before taking it to Council in December for approval.
Right. Because am I right in saying that because of the performance, individual performance report, we want to be careful. We need to have something on the agenda for November. This is what we're trying to do now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you confirm with us definitely that we can be able to do it. Any other points?
No, nothing of significance at this point. I say we have got important technical meeting with the directors as well next week, so maybe we can iron some of the matters out as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Councillor Richards?
Yes, Chair. I don't know if we're looking at far ahead, but April,
there's
one report there now at the moment.
Yeah.
Whether we want to consider the violence at work, that the policy then, or is it a bit soon, do you think? Perhaps in the next cycle? It's roughly 6 months it'll be from being implemented.
Yeah.
But perhaps that's something we can discuss in the pre-meeting of the next meeting.
Yeah, good point. I think we need to perhaps consider it for the April meeting, and we'll take this up in our technical meeting next week, isn't it? Okay. Right. Nothing else? Anyone? No? Right. No, I think she's having trouble with putting the virtual hand down.
Jill, your hand is up.
I'm having trouble. I can't see anything and I can't see if my hand is up or down.
Oh, right. You're going to talk to our friends in IT, are you? Or Democratic Services to sort it out. Okay. The next item is the reflections on the scrutiny referrals. Yes, no problem. I got nothing to say on that. It's already
discussed really.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Chair, but my hand up. On the reflections, can we have a review, asking for comments of the street lighting? Because we discussed it was a year ago, something like that. Remember on about bringing these lights in, so
Right.
because somebody asked me last week what we do with the one we got down in Union Terrace, street towards Queen's Road. So can we find out what's happening? Because they said they're funding it and they could do it.
Are you talking about looking at street lighting throughout the county borough? Or?
No, we're meeting and everything, right? Talking about changing the street lighting in certain areas. So they just put on when somebody walk past the light will come on.
All right. That's the first I've heard of that.
No, we sat at a meeting in the chambers.
Yeah.
With Chris, can you check up for me and see where we're going?
I think that is an item, Bill, that particularly should be raised in the Thriving Committee.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
And Neil's made a note of that now to make sure that is captured in our Thriving Scrutiny Committee. Okay?
That's right.
Item 9, at the feedback on student activities, really relevant feedback from workshops. We haven't had one in the last meeting. I'm tasked on finished groups. So there is nothing further to report unless you've got something, Neil.
The only comment to make on that, which links back to the full work programme item as well, because we had the risk workshop following the last scrutiny, and now we've had the performance report, whether we want to maybe have a separate meeting outside of this committee again to consider those two in combination, and whether there's any sort of specific items you want to delve into.
Right. Can we raise that at the technical meeting next week, first of all?
Yeah.
Or we might be to raise it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Bill, you got your hand up? Or
I have, as Chair. When I walked in today, I heard off the scrutiny panel officers, Merthyr Tydfil, I can't say it, Corporate Risk Register. I don't know if you've seen it. It's that big, can you see it? On a terrace something, you want double glasses to see it. It's absolutely, for organisation, I guess, for the money they give right for all this printing, it's absolutely disgusting.
It's a bit small, Bill, is it?
Bit small. Something could be sorted out. So don't get me saying we're all getting a bit older, we're all wearing glasses, and it's not matching, is it?
I'll discuss that with Andrew.
Yes.
All right. Right.
Chair, I think that's what I raised, didn't I mention earlier on when we were discussing it?
Oh, right.
The size of the print on the one document.
Oh, you made a comment. I'm making this in a comment. We're going to take it forward now, we're saying, because it's absolutely disgusting.
We will raise that with Andrew Monkford. Neil will do it initially, but let me know what happens there.
Right, we're going to take it. We'll bring it to the next meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Item 10. Any other business deemed urgent by the chair? I have none. Can I thank you all for your attendance and declare the meeting closed? Thank you all.
Chair.
Thank you all. Good evening, all.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.